Hello everyone, I'm Irma, the International Affairs Editor, and today I'm in Berlin for Harbingers Magazine Special Newsroom 2026. This newsroom will take us across Central Europe, from Berlin, Germany to Warsaw and Krakow in Poland, then Sarajevo in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and finally Belgrade, Serbia. Our mission is to uncover the history and shadow of genocide, explore how these events continue to shape societies today, and understand why remembering them matters. Today is Chapter 1. We have just finished a lecture given by Dr. Dominique Hessel, who explained colonialism, its roots. We touched upon the Berlin Conference of the late 19th century and the scramble for Africa.
I do feel that colonialism has impacted our imaginary, the way that we rank humans as better or worse than others, or even subhuman. And yes, the stories we tell ourselves about our own societies and others.
So in 1870, about 10% of Africa was under European control. Then within those roughly 40 years, between 1880 and 1913, it was reversed. So from 10% of European control, we go to 90% of European. This is supposed to be the Berlin Conference, and this is the German Chancellor Bismarck, and they're carving up Africa, and everybody wants to get a slice of the pie. 14 powers attended: Britain, Portugal, Spain, Italy, Belgium, Russia, Austria-Hungary, the US, and the Ottoman Empire. Zero African states, indigenous leaders, representative were present or even consulted. So this idea is that, it's painful and it's hard work and it's a thankless duty, but we owe it to these lesser people to lift them up. So there is some kind of ideological thing that justifies behavior. So this Berlin Conference happened 140 years ago. It happened right around the corner. But do you think I ever heard of this in the school? Never. Never was I taught anything about the Berlin Conference. And I would guarantee you, up to this day, if you walk up to a random German, they will not be able to tell you what the Berlin Conference was.
And there's also an open debate in how causal or not causal German colonialism was to the Holocaust. Obviously, there are clear links between kind of race laws. And so everybody knows the Nuremberg laws that forbid like interracial, right? And I'm always using quotation marks because no such thing as race, but interracial marriages. But you also had laws forbidding interracial marriages in the German colonies. Then you have other similarities like concentration camps. I mean, they were first used by the British during the Boer Wars, but then Germans adopted the term, used it in Southwest Africa, today Namibia, as part of their genocidal extermination of the Herero and Nama. And then other links, for example, like racial hygiene, like science of race.
Colonialism is still something that's resonating through the power structures that we see today. And you can see in the collection from Namibia, for example, that we saw today, where objects are kind of being withheld because of reparations that maybe would want to be, that should be made. Like, this mask is fascinating. I think it's got the whole cosmology of this group, the whole origin story of their land and the formation of their culture is kind of rooted in this mask. So these cultural stories are intertwined with the histories of the country's psychological makeup in a way. And I think that those are elements that still echo through the current climate as well. Which I think might be the most interesting, is that you make your own masks.
It's almost like a thank you to my mom, because she's taken me to so many places, and I think that that's kind of how I became the person I am. Because I think all these cultures, although I'm not from these places, I think looking at these places like Morocco and even Spain, there's so much difference between them. And I think knowing these contrasting beliefs will help me become who I am.
I used colors that were like significant to me.
I think the green here on the side is just like my appreciation of the world have built up a wall around my childish side that I want, like, I just keep it going because I don't want to lose sight of who I am and like stuff like that. I wanna keep the child in me.
Currently, we're at the German Historical Museum. I'm here with Giorgio Del Avecchio.
What we try to show here in this exhibition is how science, modern science, but not only, like researching nature and understanding nature has always been like a challenge for human beings in the context of German history, obviously. And I would say also like nature as a political instrument, even nature as a political weapon. Nature had also a very important economical relevance. This has always been the case. If you think of, I don't know, early colonial times, 15th century, how important it was for the colonization of the Americas through the Spaniards. Silver and gold mines, especially silver mines in Potosi. So nature as a resource that you are exploiting through the employment and through the enslavement also of local labor forces, or through deportation from other countries, like from Africa. The idea of natural protection and preservation is something that the Germans, in this case in Eastern Africa, in today's Tanzania, let's say, something that the Germans should bring to the Africans, part of this civilization mission that the Europeans were perceiving for themselves, that was based obviously on strongly racist fundaments and basis, and the idea that we have to show these African people how to protect their own nature. So exploitation of nature, at the same time also admiration of this wild nature, were two sides of the same medal in a time that was, again, very contradictory, the one of colonialism. If you think of concepts like race, Rasse, so this idea to present a political community as something that was based on race, as something that was based on belonging to a certain race, all things that have no foundation in natural sciences, in biology and so on, but that were incredibly important for the self-representation of the Nazi regime, of the Nazi society, of the Nazi ideology. On the other hand, one must also say it, strong interventions in nature. That will also kind of manipulating nature, intervening in nature in a very dark period of time, like the time of National Socialism, the Nazi time, 1933, 1945. We are trying to show really how and what kind of role nature played in shaping and molding the ideologies and also like the strategies and the dominions of Nazi regime in this time.
Today with me is Marcin Fronia from the Polish Academy of Sciences here in Berlin, and I'm here to talk to him about the legal systems in Germany that helped Hitler gain power between 1918 and 1933.
What I tried to stress during our lecture today was the consequences, global consequences of the economic crisis. Germany felt humiliated after the huge reparations they had to pay in the consequence of the Treaty of Versailles, and then started this fragile develop in the wrong way.
Important thing here is this economic situation which triggered and fueled this radicalization, social radicalization, so insecurity of the everyday social life, and also insecurity of the political system. Unemployment created the conditions for radicalization, but it did not on its own determine which direction people radicalized in. The direction was shaped by which political actors were most effectively offering a simple story. People abandoned compromise-oriented parties in favor of parties offering total uncompromising solutions.
If you read the Hitler's Mein Kampf, of course, and then the concept of expansion was already mentioned. The concept of how to perceive Jews was already mentioned. I think that the Western countries were blind. They didn't want to be aware that this allowing this dictatorship to grow will have negative consequences also for themselves. For the first couple of years, they were allowing to the Nazi Germany to strengthen, and then came the 1939, the Second World War. So that was the countless ambition of the dictator to invade every Europe, to make Germany the imperial country again. Through this, we can understand how deep was the feeling of the humiliation of German mentality after the First World War, after the Treaty of Versailles.
So this was Chapter 1, Germany. We have just finished our visit at the house of the Wannsee Conference, where in 1942, 15 Nazi officials coordinated the final solution to the Jewish question. This was a systematic industrialized mass murder targeted at 11 million Jews in Europe. We are now going to head to Warsaw, where we will aim to understand how in Ukraine and Poland the Nazi occupation eventually evolved into a campaign of mass violence and eventually the Holocaust. See you in Chapter 2.